Hello everyone. Today I, Yurika, Laurie and Thomas will present you New York City. New York City in 1913. Now, back then the city was seen as the city of future, city of business, mainly because they had a lot of industry and they had one of the biggest ports in the entire world. Now, next to those two illegal activities, there was also a lot of gambling, liquor selling, and prostitution. Now you can see in 1913 and in 2014 there has always been a lot of skyscrapers. Now this is not just for space, but also to show the world that they have a lot of power, that they are rich, that they are able to build these buildings. Actually, to show, as in, we can beat nature by building high buildings. Okay. Now, a more specific example, or a more clear example, you could say, is now here Times Square. You can see here in 1913, one high skyscraper, yeah, and now, yeah, I don't think I have to explain it. You can see left and right only high buildings. You can't see the sky anymore almost. So also technology has evolved very quickly. In 100 years, you can see all digital billboards, and 1913 there wasn't any. So you can see it evolved very quickly. Now, one particular building I would like to discuss is the Woolworth Building, which was designed by Carl Gilbert and finished as well in 1913. Now, for 17 years, it was the highest building in New York, and it was about 214 meters high. Now, why did I actually put this in my presentation, in our presentation, I'm sorry? That was mainly because the president could push a button in the White House in Washington D.C., which is about 200 miles away from New York, to actually illuminate the entire building. And that was also a sort of image to show, like, hey, we have a big city and we do have money, to show the people actually, and to put, you could say, the city in a spotlight. So that's quite interesting. Now also, one particular thing they do was they made all the skyscrapers in New York less odd by just using various familiar architecture to decorate the buildings as well. Now, for example, here in the Woolworth Building, the ceiling was made out of Byzantine mosaics. Yeah, the floor was of Greek art, and the outside was Gothic. So you can see there is a really there are three different kind of styles used in one building, which is quite amazing.
Hello, this is Thomas speaking. And to continue what Yannick said, architecture isn't the only thing New York took from Europe. Before 1913, the New York elite, who wanted to appear very sophisticated, often traveled to Europe to witness European art in the flesh. But around 1913, a switch came because they realized they could just buy the art and bring it back home to the Americas. An example of this was an international exhibition of modern art which took place in 1913. They had art from all over the world, and the Association of American Painters and Sculptors initiated the idea. But they weren't so happy with what happened, because the European masterpieces that were sent over, and we're talking Monet's, Matisse's, Van Gogh's, or Cézanne's, were really the people pleaser of the exhibition. Most of the traffic came to watch these grandiose European pictures, and all the American art wasn't really that popular. Now, art isn't the only thing that's being imported from Europe. There were many other valuable goods, and one of them was the European people themselves. And to preface this, I have a poem written by Émile Lazarus, which is a French poet, and this poem is engraved at the Statue of Liberty. It is titled The New Colossus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek flame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, you storied pump, cries she, with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp besides the golden door. This poem really helps reinforce the idea that New York, that was presented around New York, around the whole world, that you were welcome in New York, that it was a refuge. Now, you might wonder, how did Europe find its way to New York? Well, at the time in 1913, New York was the biggest harbor in the whole world, so there were tons and tons of immigrants.
New York presented a paradox. The Americans viewed the city with suspicion, as the country's most foreign. Foreigners thought of New York as a symbol of America. Why? Because there was a lot of immigration. 4/5 of New York's population were of foreign stock, so were born outside the United States. Many come to America to escape hardship, marginalization, and persecution. Other reasons were economic opportunity. Americans were not happy with these immigrants. They wanted to limit immigration to some fraction of existing ethnic communities, acting as a brake on newer flows of immigration. Another thing that they did was institute a test for writing and reading, so that immigration could not continue.
Hello, this is Jirka, and I'm going to tell you something about a very important person in the American history. On the 31st of March 1913, John Pierpont Morgan died, and he was the most powerful economic figure in the New World. He was called many names, many positive names, like the greatest citizen of all time, the Napoleon of finance, the personification of America's wealth, energy, and financial organization. And after he died, there was even written a poem about him called "Dip Flags, the Commodore has come to port." And it was said that he was a very generous man because he thought it was more important to give money to important purposes than to have money. So he gave a lot of money to widows, to orphans, to libraries, museums, etc. And he was also an art collector. And he died in Rome on one of his trips. And it was thanks to Morgan that the Federal Reserve System was founded. And the Federal Reserve System is kind of a decentralized central bank, and you can compare it to the European National Bank in Frankfurt. And that provided the importance of the US dollar in global economy. And thanks to Morgan, New York became the financial capital of the world. And in this cartoon, you can see Morgan. And this cartoon shows that the role of Morgan in the US economy was much larger than the role of the government. Okay, thank you for watching.